That's me in the very beginning. Now I am a baby and getting zoomed from my mom to my birthday. I don't remember a lot about my younger life, but I remember it was fun and I felt so safe. My mom and dad always happy. I guess my mom's sister was mad that my dad was so great, so she called the police and said he hit my mom. We were all reading and they came. I heard my dad yelling, "There's no way!" My mom was crying loudly. Some lady took us away. The court said my parents abused and neglected us. They only loved us. The caseworker lied. I never saw my parents again. I'm still hoping one day they come. I am a victim of CPS and so are my parents. We need to find justice in all of this madness for all of us that are being abused. It's not fair. Every kid I know has a mom and dad. I know they miss me. I bet they fight every day for me to come home.
Don't get caught like us. Know your rights.
Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS, CPS, and so on custody. The reality is their pics are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title 4 says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable. For the people enforcing the lie.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Tuesday night edition of CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I am your host, CPS Punisher. Woo! Man, that videos just take my breath away every time I see it. But what you don't see on that stuff is the behind the scenes stories. See, we always talk about what happens when CPS comes into your life, what you got to do to get your children, get your children back, or what they do when they take them from you. But what we don't ever talk about is what goes on before CPS comes. And that's about the law enforcement side of things and the things that happen to you as a human being if you commit a crime, the way that you're treated, the way that CPS is brought into the play, all of these things. We don't ever talk about that. So tonight we have a special lineup. It was supposed to have, I'm hoping that he still has arrived. He might just be a little bit late. But we had potential Sheriff Jeff Glasser coming in with us. I don't know if he's backstage yet or not. Oh, he's here. Good. I'm glad that we got him. There he is, my man right there. And we got a whole panel of people with him to talk with him tonight, guys. So tonight's going to be a great show. If you got people in Cass County, Michigan, get this show out there so that we can get the support for Jeff. I'm going to bring Jeff out first. He's a well-known guy to us. Oh, and by the way, before I get any further, don't forget, we have the chat right here, the chat overlay, right? So here's this stuff. We want you guys to interact with us. We want you to ask questions. We want to be in this. We want you to be involved with us. Like and subscribe also, please, to the YouTube thing. It helps us get the word out, helps get things out. But this chat thing right here, very important. Interact with us. Ask questions. We want to give you answers. That's what this is all about, is education. And today you're going to get a lot of it. So hold on to your seats. Call your law enforcement friends. Call everybody you know. Here's my man right here, Mr. Jeff Glasser. Jeff, how we doing, my brother?
I'm fixing some gas pipes in my basement.
That doesn't mean that you're out of gas for the sheriff's running, does it?
Oh no,
All right, good.
the elected county sheriff, he finally announced to the whole world that he's giving up. He's retiring.
All right.
So
what's that mean for you?
what that means is a heck of a lot easier for me to win. It's really hard to beat the incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
And I got all the evidence. I believe I could have beat him anyhow, just on the merit. But
I mean, you keep saying the evidence. Do you want to give a little bit of what you're saying, what you mean by evidence, Jeff?
well,
You don't have to, but if you could,
No.
maybe enlighten some people about it.
no, I like talking about this person. His name is James Anthony Henry.
Mhm.
He is claimed to be a social worker, but he's never had a social worker's license. He's claimed he's a therapist, but he's never had an LL license. That's the minimum that you can have to be a therapist. And he
Mhm.
claims to be a doctor, and he's never had a doctor's license. He's done Cass County and 27 other counties in Michigan where he impersonated a doctor, and 3 different states, and one of them's Colorado.
And he's coming out and he's acting as a professional or I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fry here, but he's acting as a certified person, right? In these CPS cases, correct?
Yeah, he's acting as a certified doctor, and the courts and the prosecutors had allowed it for 15 years that I'm aware of.
Wow. And he's the
So-
same guy that we're going to be running against?
No,
No? Okay.
he's the person that almost made him, take my daughter. But when I caught the court giving me its husband as a defense attorney,
Mhm.
when I caught that this man never had a license, I made court go in reverse. My daughter told the therapist last Thursday that, because she point blank asked her, she said, has anybody ever told you you weren't going home? She said, yes, they told me that a couple years back ago. So that just proves that they've never tried to I cannot say the word from you. Anyhow, send her back home. For some reason, I can't get that word out of my mouth.
Reunify.
Yeah.
But hey, they just brought your visits up, right? Didn't you just get your visits increased to 4 hours?
Yep. And Saturday is supposed to go to 8 hours, but the caseworker, she's on vacation and she says she ain't doing anything till after the 1st. But that's not what the judge ordered. So maybe we can get her in trouble too for not doing.
That's right. Well, that's your whole idea. All right, Jeff, you got a loaded board here wanting to talk to you tonight. We're going to bring you in. Of course, we got my man, we got Melissa and Herbert here. Obviously, I don't know where Melissa is. Oh, there's Melissa. We got Melissa and Herbert, obviously. And then we got a couple more here. Oh, Herbert, did you see this graphic I made for you? Were you able to see that?
No, where is
I
it?
don't know. Someone's got a TV on. It's really loud in the background or radio. You guys could maybe kill that. That'd be cool. Check this out, Herbert. Ready? Boom.
Yeah.
Herbert, police procedure
That's cool.
expert.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's got the Highway Patrol from New York City on it. City of New York.
Yeah.
Highway Patrol. Yeah, you're not digging it, huh, Herbert?
No, it's cool. I mean,
All right.
that's not the official emblem from New York State, but it's okay.
No. I know. It's just I figured it's a nice little thing for you.
The emblem in the middle you have is for New York City.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so I screwed that one up. All right.
It's okay though. It's okay.
Right.
You can leave it like that. It does. It's fine.
All right, cool. All right, and then we have my man John Archdale back here. John's got himself a whole slew of things that he could be called, so I'm going to leave him with that. And then we also have my lady friend Tiffany here, and she is coming in with us too, Jeff. All of these people here for you. Herbert, I guess you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let you have this one, my friend. This is your show, buddy.
My show.
Let's talk law enforcement with these people. They all got questions. They all got things. John, Jeff, these guys are from your area. They're rooting for you. They're pulling for you. And they want to know how they're going to be able to support you. If you want to give a little insight to these guys, to John and my sister here, that would be great. Because I know that they're anxious to hear what you got to say to be sheriff in that area. You guys, you know what? Be free to ask questions as you will. I know Tiffany, I know you got a lot of questions to ask. She's a civil rights activist and an advocate. And I believe you're from that area too, right, Tiffany?
Yes, sir, I am.
Right. And then John, you're right across the
Born and
river.
raised in Michigan.
All right. So yeah, what do you guys got for questions for Jeff? What kind of things you guys looking at?
Well, for Jeff, I wanted to know, I'm just now coming in, so I don't know too much about Jeff.
Yeah.
I just know what John told me is that he's big on the Constitution and he's big on fighting the system and stuff like that. He lost his kids to the system, and
No, I ain't lost. They kidnapped her, but I'm getting her back.
Oh, okay. Well, I knew it was something like that with the CPS issue, and well, that's good. You haven't lost. I fought the system and won, Jeff. I fought 6 cases and filed my own motions and lawsuits myself. Filed my own lawsuits against the governors, the judges, the CPS workers, and police officers, and I won. I was successful at doing that. So I started a nonprofit organization in the state of Texas where I fought my case, but 2 states was involved, Texas and Michigan. And so I'm licensed in Texas, Michigan, and Africa. And I just wanted to prick your brain about what you know. I've been studying laws for decades. I wanted to be an attorney, but I went into other fields. I'm a mother of 13 children, 8 living children, and I've been fighting the system since 1999, and I'm fighting the system currently.
Well, what I learn a little something, almost every day. One thing I've learned is, when you get to appoint your special deputies, one thing that's very hard to do is get any police officer to listen to you, let alone to I'm talking on my phone. I was looking all over for it. You can't get them to listen to you and take a report. They just tell you, well, you're just disgruntled. You just don't like what the judge did. You just don't like this. So I'm at my special appointed deputies. They are not going to be certified by the state of Michigan. That way, the state of Michigan does not own them and cannot bully them. So they will be the only officers in the Cass County that can go to any house with CPS. No other officers will be allowed to. If somebody has the evidence and can prove that a caseworker has committed felonies, my officer's job will be to investigate it. If the prosecutor has committed felonies or the judge, their job will be to investigate, and when they find wrongdoings, to take it up to Lansing, to the Michigan Attorney General, and do everything possible to get charges brought, because you cannot get nobody to do that.
Now, you say police officers or sheriffs, deputy sheriff. Which one? There's police officers.
Deputy sheriff.
Oh, that's different. That's different. So you're going to have the county. So you're dealing with county, not with the city. So you have the deputy sheriffs that you'll be in control of.
Yes, but my special ones, they won't be out pulling people over. They won't be going down and talking to somebody who got robbed. Their only job is to keep CPS clean. If somebody can prove evidence where the caseworker has committed felonies and whatever, then their job will also be to investigate it.
Okay.
And none of my special trained deputies will be certified by the state. None of them.
Okay, now, Jeff, few questions crossed my mind as a private investigator here in Michigan. A, if you say what you're going to do, which is, by the way, great, I applaud that. However, how are you going to get grants from the Department of Justice? How are you going to get the police chiefs in your county to coincide with your philosophy? Number one. Number two, how is the state police going to play into this role?
As far as I'm concerned, state police are not welcomed in Cass County because all of them have failed to do their jobs. As far as grants and shit, I really could care less. My only main concern and my main job is to hold these corrupt officials and these corrupt people at CPS accountable. That's my only thing. And
I think
the way I'll make the rest of these police in the county fall in line is I'm going after two of the officers right here, and one of them is the chief of police. Because when CPS, well, DHS made a mistake and called the police and said I was there. Now, they're human. They have the right to make a mistake. But that officer went to the prosecutor that day and told him that I was not there. The next day, this caseworker went to the prosecutor, talked him into allowing her to falsify a police report and falsify an affidavit. Then on the 20th, they took it to the judge just before she retired and had her strip me of my visits, and it took me almost 2 years to get them back. Neither one of them officers after they found out what happened, went up there and did anything. They just told me that if I harass them people, they'll arrest me. So that chief, he's on the board to be cut. Officer Don is on that board to be cut. And if I fire him, I think the rest of them is going to listen. Now, the rest of them I don't have a problem with that I'm aware of.
Okay, now, with that being said, though, how can you control that county to not allow the state police in when the state police will override it? And the reason I'm saying this, Jeff, is I had a case that I was working on here in the state, over in the Thumb, Imlay City, and it was against a county sheriff and waste management services, the guy that had the franchise for it. With that being said, he ended up going to federal pen because the state police entered his property, and the sheriff told the state police to stay away, but they entered it anyway. He took a forklift, a pretty good sized forklift that lifts dumpsters, and he forked that state cop car, shook the fire out of it, dumped it up, and ran over it on US 53, Van Dyke Highway. They couldn't get him with anything. They couldn't touch him. State couldn't touch him. So the state went to the feds, and between the feds and the state, they came up with RICO, because waste management in the state of Michigan is owned by one of the 5 families out of the state of New York. And it was a son or a nephew, if I remember correctly, Sammy, who ran and was doing everything. So they brought RICO in. That gentleman from Waste Management went to jail for 7 years. Lost his business of waste management. The sheriff said the state police isn't allowed to do any of that. My thing is after all this happened, within I'm going to say the sheriff was still the sheriff after all this went down. I had a run-in with this gentleman about, I'm going to say 8 months to a year after that happened. He pointed a .30-30 at me and said, "I'm going to kill you," right on the main street. Unbeknownst to him, we had a shotgun and a .45 aimed at him. So we were going to take him out, and I called the state police because they had jurisdiction in the area that we were in. They had the jurisdiction. I was flat told they would not show up because they were actually afraid of him and what he would do.
Jesus.
So
I can believe that.
The sheriff said that he was within that he was within his rights, and he could have shot me.
Jesus.
Um, I don't agree with that, but I'm licensed in the state. Okay, as far as being licensed, as far as my connection to the state, I have to be licensed to be a private investigator.
Well, maybe you can find the other two states that this James Anthony Henry worked in. I know one of them's Colorado. I got the paperwork from there. Maybe you can even find out the other 27 counties he worked in Michigan and allow everybody to know, because he worked for, well, he still does, for Western Michigan University. They made him the CTAC doctor, and the man's never had a license. I got the paperwork from Michigan Attorney General where they brought him up on charges.
You keep my number.
Yeah, we'll get all
Aaron
that.
has my number.
Yeah, we'll get all that.
Give me a call. Give me a call. We'll confer, please.
Okay.
Hey Jeff, Tiffany's got a good question for you.
Okay.
What the problem has been, Jeff, is that the law enforcement agencies and CPS, they work together. So they conspire together to do these things. That's what's been the problem. And what has happened is that it's so much corruption going on with that happening, because they fall under the 4th and 5th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, where if law enforcement come to your house or CPS come to your house, you don't have to actually let them in, because they fall under the color of law under the 4th and 5th Amendment to the Constitution, where you got a right to be free from search and seizure, and you got a right to ask them to go get a warrant from a judge before they enter your home. Okay, but the problem has been is that they have been in cahoots, working together, kidnapping people, children, for money for the government under Title IV emergency assistance. Okay.
Yep.
You're talking to somebody who's been fighting the system since 1999 and who has been successful at fighting the system and winning. I studied laws for years, and I wanted to be an attorney ever since a little girl, but I went into the medical field and the technology in different fields. I'm multi-talented too, which I haven't done what the school for. And I am a rape survivor. I'm a domestic violence survivor, and I'm also a mental health survivor. And my kids were kidnapped in 2009 when I relocated from Michigan to Texas, and 2 states were involved. And I was held at gunpoint by the police. They held me at gunpoint in my house, and I had attorneys during this time, had prepaid legal attorneys, Legal Shield, if anybody ever heard of them at the time where this happened. And they rushed in my house. To this day, I don't even know what child opened the door for them, because I was back in my room. And I was held at gunpoint for several hours, from 7 p.m. that night to almost 2 a.m. the next following morning, December 26, 2009. And CPS came later on, a couple hours later, after they held me in my house for so long. They tried to get me to sign my rights away to my house, but I was trying to call my attorney. They were snatching the phone, pushing me. They violated all my constitutional rights. And so what I did, what helped me in my case, is that I had been studying laws for years. And I'm a mother of 13 children, 8 living children, and 6 of my children was wrongfully taken from me and put in foster care. Okay? And it was all false charges, and it was because of the police and CPS. And I fought the system and won. That took almost 6 years. In 6 different courts I fought and filed my own motions and lawsuits myself. And I was successful at doing that and got my kids out of the state's care. But it shouldn't take that, because the U.S. Constitution protects us to a degree. And so these entities, the law enforcement entity and the CPS entity, or whatever they call it in their state, DHS, Health and Human Services, is in cahoots together and conspiring together to get this money from the government to terminate parental rights. And it had already been ruled on in the 9th Circuit Court that termination of parental rights is equivalent to the death penalty in criminal cases. Therefore, parents must be provided every representation under to the law. Then it also,
but they don't.
They don't give them jury trials and different stuff like that, because they do a lot of falsifying documentation.
I think there's only 2 states that will give you a jury trial for termination.
But it's supposed to be any state. That's afforded to you in the U.S. Constitution or due process of law.
Yeah, but most people across the country do not go by the Constitution, if you will, as far as CPS goes, they violate the Constitution every day.
Right,
Yep.
they do, and it's sad that they. Oh, wait a minute. Another thing I want to say before whoever is talking, can you hold on? Oh, I'm in a training right now, with the Universal Rights team out of Washington D.C. And I found out through my training today. I'm in an 8-week training, and it's to get a license on children's rights and humanitarian issues. Right. Well, during my training, I found out that only in the United States, out of all the other states and countries, have not signed a treaty for the CSC for the children rights. So this is how they're able to still take our kids. They signed the document, but they didn't ratify it. So they didn't legalize it. So they still doing human trafficking, slavery systems, different stuff like that. So anyway, but go ahead. I'm done.
So the thing about jury trials for termination cases, there's actually 6 states in the United States that allow jury trials in child cases. Michigan happens to be one of them.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. But this is how they trick you. Trust me, I had a termination in Michigan. And I remember it clear as day because I was in Monroe County with the case where I openly, it was explained to me. In the very beginning, right before you have your first hearing, before you ever give them jurisdiction, when you're getting ready to walk into that courtroom, they will approach you and say, hey, we're going into this hearing, we'll probably beat it. So let's go ahead and waive jury trial. And you don't think nothing of it because the attorney just told you he's going to beat it. But Michigan is one of 6 states for jury trial and termination cases.
You can get a jury trial in the beginning where they take judification, or however you say that word. But
you can also have it for termination, yes, but you have to accept it in the very beginning. You have to have a jury trial for each one of your dedicated, fact-only hearings. So the adjudication, the permanency, and the termination would all be done by jury trial.
And another thing too with Michigan too, this is not in every state, but there's also a state where if your rights are terminated, you can go back and try to retain your rights of your children. That's not in every state either, but it should be.
Well, it is and it isn't, because my second termination I had in Michigan, they did not give me any type of termination trial. They said because they met the grounds during the first trial out in Lenawee County, that they did not have to give me a termination trial in the second hearing, that it was just down to a best interest hearing, which is not a fact-based hearing. You can bring in every bit of bullshit you want.
They lie and falsify documents. This is a state where
my rights were terminated because my driver's license was suspended due to the driver's responsibility fee, and I was forced to drive to visitation. So the judge said that I didn't deserve to have my kid because I drove to my visitations, but I would have been in more trouble to not show up to my visitations. And then 2 years after that, they deemed the Driver's Responsibility Act non-constitutional, but it doesn't give me the ability to go back and get my kid. And since being in the system, my son has been sexually mutilated. He is now, I guess you can say, my daughter, because they took him to Canada and had a sex change done on him. He's 10 years old.
I'd be killing somebody.
God, that's horrible.
I would stop what I'm doing and I would just go kill.
Oh man, that's horrible. Who is?
And my son was Yeah,
talking.
my son was sold to a pair of Canadians. They weren't even U.S. citizens. And this was during the Governor Granholm administration, which now she's over our country's economics. Go figure, our world's going to shit in a handbag here.
It's been doing that for decades now. So
Right, right.
because of human trafficking and the laws and stuff. Hold on, I gotta put my thing in. I don't want the video to go. I gotta put my charger on my computer. Okay, I'm plugged in now. I got a low battery thing. I didn't notice my battery was getting low on my laptop. But
All right, so here we go, guys. Listen to this. As of the end of 2003, that's what the most updated thing I can find is. It says 6 states, Nevada, Oklahoma, Texas, Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming, have statutes or case law that permit or require a jury trial in termination of parental rights cases. In Virginia, the jury is called an advisory jury.
Hold on, sir. Can you go a little slower so I can write the states down?
Yeah, yes, I can. It is
Virginia.
no, well, this is what's surprising to me is that Michigan's not listed here. It says Nevada, Oklahoma,
Hold on.
Texas.
Hold on. Nevada, Oklahoma,
Texas,
Virginia,
and Wyoming.
It
says in Virginia, the jury is called an advisory jury. All right, the other one must be. And then the article goes on to say the other 45 jurisdictions have case law or statutes or local court rules or common practice that specifically prohibit a jury trial in termination of parental rights.
That needs to be changed because your constitutional rights to due process of the law guarantees you a jury trial.
Right. So I'm fighting that here too. I'm pushing for jury trials in Alabama.
Too, because I'm on different boards and stuff like that. I had advocated for this law to be changed here in Michigan and where I'm licensed at. And this law simply says if anybody got a CPS investigation or case, they instantly put the person on the registry. Well, if the person have not been charged criminally, because we know that by the law, and Herbert can contest to this, that abuse and neglect is a crime punishable by law, 10 years or more prison time, felony, misdemeanor, according to the state. That is the law, okay? So if the person didn't get the right judicial branch of government, meaning if it's a civil case, criminal case, federal case, didn't get charged in the criminal and federal case, then they shouldn't be put on the registry because what it does is it stops people from getting jobs. And so it needs to be handled at a different people need to investigate a crime, a true crime of abuse and neglect. The police, law enforcement, FBI agents, they need to investigate, not CPS, because they get social workers and other people. They're not trained in the area of law enforcement, like law enforcement is not trained in their area, vice versa, even with mental health. So it's just all these entities need to play their part and their role in helping the family to reunification supposed to be the goal. And it's supposed to be the least restricted environment when CPS gets involved. But what they do is they take the kids, put them in foster care, take them from the families, and do all these illegal things against the person's parental rights and the law, and then the child is suffering. So they're getting away with it because the United States, out of all the countries, have not ratified and became a legal resident for protecting children's rights. And I found that out today through my training. But go ahead.
Now,
for the record, it does show that Michigan it doesn't say it, but in this map on this, it does show Michigan as a state that is colored in as it does require jury trial, just for the record.
Well, it does not require, it's not a mandatory requirement with termination. And I had a long conversation with my attorney about this in Michigan, because after I found out they had jury trials, I went back and I approached him. I said, hey, how come we didn't argue this in front of a jury? How come we have stuck with the bitch on bench? And What he said was, he says you would have had to have said you wanted a jury trial right from day one, and that your dependency would have been established through jury, and if they found you dependent, then you can
Okay.
request another one at the 1 year hearing or at the termination, but you would have had to have requested the jury trial at each step.
I've heard that from a family law attorney that
Well,
it is that it is allowed.
that's your
But
right.
you have to,
Under
when you
US
first
Con- US
contact an
Constitution,
attorney after they take your
Constitution,
kids, when they first take your kids, the very first time, before you even walk into the court, you have to decide then that you want a jury trial and to look it up. That's one thing that I've understood as far as my research is concerned. And once you find out that you can have a jury trial, you have to ask it before your first day in court. So if they take your children, like let's say on a Monday, and you have a court day following Monday, you have virtually 7 days to decide. Yeah, yes.
Well, actually, hey John, as you get ready to walk into that first hearing, the attorney will be holding a paper, and he'll be telling you, because I clearly remember this. He stood there and he told me, he says, look, he says, this is the hearing where we're hearing a reading of the allegations, and we're establishing whether there is or is not jurisdiction. He says, do we want to move forward with a jury trial? He says they've already promised they're going to reunify anyways. He says, so I don't think that we need to worry about all this other stuff because you'll have your kids home within 3 to 6 months. I'm like, yeah, okay. If I'm getting my kids home in 3 to 6 months, I'm not worried about it. So he waived it that day at that first hearing. Therefore, I did not have a right to a jury trial. And that was the judge that refused me a termination trial.
You have to decide before you go in. I tell all my clients now that I have not to sign any piece of paper whatsoever from CPS, from the courts, from anybody. Nothing. Don't sign a word. Don't sign nothing.
I agree with that.
The thing is people that are involved in CPS cases, and the reason that I got involved as a PI was I started looking into CPS and decided that, wait a minute, they're abusing the power that they have. So, for an example, if I abuse my power, if a police officer abuses his power, a judge abuses their power, there is ways that they can be, or we can be, brought up on charges. It might have to go to federal court to do so, but we can be brought up on those charges. So therefore, the trick behind all this is trying to reach and market myself and my nonprofit that I have started now, is to market it to people that are in the throes of CPS or CPS watching them, or get their kids. I need to get our phone number out there so that people can reach us and say, okay, now what do I do when CPS takes their children? At that point, we can help them and guide them with or without their attorney's blessing on how to do it, what to do, and so forth.
What's that number, John?
Hmm?
What's that number?
248-875-7499. I'm available 24/7.
And another thing too, with what's going on with these two entities, they are depriving people from their rights, and that's serious because we all have rights afforded to us in the Constitution, even though they still use ways to enslave us with the Constitution. But we also have universal rights. We also have civil rights. We also have the Bill of Rights. We also have the Constitution. And they fall under the color of law, so they abuse their authority and their power. That's why my company is called iStop. It's I stand to oppose abuse of power, because they abuse their authority and their power. When I write the state officials and the government and the presidents, I don't leave no child out, because they have gotten away from the best interest of the child law, and now it's about how many kids they can get in the system to terminate parental rights to get money under Title IV emergency assistance from the government. So they have gotten away from that because it's all about money now. And they have treaties that they signed with Indians, but they was taking their children, and they still taking and kidnapping and human trafficking children because they have not ratified the license to protect children's rights. That's why they're able to.
No. 8.
Oh, okay. What is
okay. Okay.
You put my phone number there.
That's Jeff's phone number.
Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry, Jeff.
That's okay. Anybody can call me too. But
Jeff,
hey,
yeah, I put my in the chat.
While we're talking about this stuff, for everybody that's in Michigan, I helped one senator the best I could to become a senator, and he actually made it. His name is Jonathan Lindsay. There's another senator. He's a Republican also. I don't remember his name, but I was talking to him last month at the delegate hearing, and he's pretty much on board to help to make new laws in 25 to help protect our children from CPS. So is Jonathan. So anybody in Michigan, reach out to Jonathan Lindsay. He's a state senator. And I don't know the other guy's name, but they are willing to help.
How do you spell his last name? Jonathan Lindsay. What is?
Spell it.
I'll Google it. I'll try to call him tomorrow after I get.
Is it Linsey? Lindsay?
Lindsay.
Linsey? Lindsay?
That sounds right.
Linsey.
Linsey. Lindsay.
Okay, I'm gonna Google him. Try to
go back to Tiffany, what you were saying about the American Indians.
Okay, well they signed treaties. Okay, back in this is a part of history. Back when everything was going on with slavery, even though the children were Indian, they were saying that they wasn't keeping records at first of the slaves. Okay, so that's the one thing we need to understand right now. When the slavery happened, they was not keeping records of the slaves. But then when they start keeping records of the slaves by the birth certificates and other different records, the Indians, they deprived them of their rights because they put on there that they were Negro when they was not. They were Indians. Okay, so we have so if you're Indian and African American, like I'm Spanish, I'm mixed with African Indian, Spanish, and Mexican. Okay, my last name is Spanish. But I said to say this. So what they're doing was what they did was to the Indians. Now we have an ICWA, Indian Child Welfare Act, and they have a treaty with them because they were taking the children and just putting them in foster care and just kidnapping the children. So now, what they're supposed to do, if you have Indian in you, is to notify the tribes. But a lot of times they won't do it. because you don't supposed to go to a court of law. You're supposed to go to the tribal courts. But I say this to say this: it's all dealing with slavery and systematic racism. They still enslaved us with our birth certificates. So any state that holds your birth certificate, that's their slave document. You considered a slave to that state, to the said state. Okay, so that's another subject. But in other words, it's still systematic racism and slavery. Police officers and state officials, they were slave catchers. That's the history of law enforcement and state officials. They were slave catchers. They still are doing the same slavery mentality and systematic racism and slavery to this day.
Yep, that's the facts. And for the record, it's Jonathan Lindsay. It's Lindsey. He was elected in 2022 as a Republican to the Michigan Senate.
LIND.
Yeah,
SEY?
SEY, correct.
Yeah, put a D in there before the S.
It's I before an E, Herbert.
You said LINDSEY?
Yeah.
That's right.
LINDSEY. I'm going to
That's
call
why I
it.
said put the D in before the S.
Right.
You
Right.
put the D in front of everything.
No. I was spelling it LINSEY. It's LINDSEY.
Right.
Right.
That's right. So we have all these different. I'm part of so many different organizations fighting for one cause. We need to all come together because the state's constitution says, "United we stand, divided we fall." We need to be on one accord to help bring a movement of change. You see what I'm saying? Because
that's what we're trying to build here.
Why? This has happened nationwide. It don't care. I don't care what country you in, what state you in. They are kidnapping our children and killing our children and doing this stuff to our children. And God going to get them for sure because children are angels.
That's it. You facts here, sister. Preach.
Because they are hurting children. If you don't hurt our children, the Bible says it'll be worse than a milestone tied around your head.
He says some nasty things. The Bible says some nasty things. You hurt them kids.
Yeah, so you can't do that to child. That's even prison code. In the prison code, you do something to the child, they people will kill you in prison for that. You can't hurt children like that. And that's what they're doing. They're sacrificing children for money from the government under Title for Emergency Assistance, and they tricking families into signing a safety plan. And so I had prepaid legal attorney. They told me, they said if you didn't do nothing wrong, your kids don't sign the safety plan, don't sign nothing. I had attorneys helping me, but I also sued attorneys and judges too because they were not following the laws and rules and regulations, and I got my kids out of there. But I did it with me, myself, and the Lord, because I know I didn't do all that fighting. I know I filed no motion and lawsuits myself, but I'm also a Christian person that believes that there's a higher power, and that higher power is Yeshua Christ. He helped get my kids out, get my kids back, because they was arresting me when I showed up at court, detaining me at court, putting me in mental hospitals, putting me in jails, and this is what they were doing, the police and CPS. And that was
that's a standard Michigan tactic. They would arrest me, hold me for 3 months, let me go, dismiss the charge, and do it all over again.
When I filed the federal lawsuit, they tortured me with handcuffs. The police did. Put me in a torture room and damaged my spine. I see a neurologist to this day for my spine. But I said to say this is their tactics. And then they would actually try to kill you because you're fighting for what you already supposed to get naturally in your rights, your human rights. And that's sad to me. You know, law enforcement should commend people that know their rights and know the Constitution of that, but they don't. They be arrogant, disrespectful, and rude to you because you do know probably more than what they know. It seems like a lot of police officers don't even know the Constitution and rights. They just do whatever they do because of whatever training they done had, or if some of them step outside their scope of their training, then they abuse their authority. So it's a problem. When I write state officials, and I write them every year in the government, and I tell them this is a cry across this nation, far beyond you or me. This is a cry for children, and they got blood. The United States government and other states got blood on their hands for for hurting and killing and raping children and all the stuff they did to my kids. When they were in foster care, they was raped and abused, and They was punished for reporting the abuse that they was going through. They did a whole lot of stuff within those 6 years, and they still doing that to children. So it's supposed to be, according to the best interest of the child law, it's supposed to be reunification with family. And it's supposed to be the least restricted environment. That means it's supposed to be with somebody with family. But what they're doing, they're terminating parental rights. It had already been ruled on a Ninth Circuit Court that termination of parental rights is equivalent to the death penalty in criminal cases. So therefore, parents must be afforded every legal representation under the law. But then it also says that, you know, these are case laws that I'm quoting now. But I say that to say this: they're taking our babies, and they're kidnapping our children, and they're selling them and selling them for money from the government. So the government is involved. The government is a corporation. Let's get that clear right now. They are business. They have a Dun & Bradstreet number. I have a Dun & Bradstreet number for my business. I have an EIN and a Dun & Bradstreet number. They are a business. The government was never supposed to be in the power that it's in. It's supposed to be we the people who hold the power over the government. But I'm done.
Jeff, I have a small question for you.
Okay.
You're running unopposed.
Well, now there is at least one person, but he's kind of like me. He's had CPS problems. He ain't never been a cop, but he's only doing it because this other guy don't want me to become the sheriff because I done promised him I'm putting his ass back in prison where he belongs.
Okay, now.
And I explained to him that on that day, I will be the one to drive his ass across the fucking bridge.
Yes, sir.
With that being said,
I know that's right. They need to be criminals. They need to go to
background? What background do you bring to the chair as far as sheriff is concerned?
Well, ex-military. I joined when I was 16 years old because I believe in our way of life and our Constitution.
That's all you need. That's all you need right there.
My undersheriff, he's been in the military. He's also been a mailman for like 18 years. He's been a Berrien County deputy. So
what's his name, by the way?
His name's Bill Choky.
Oh yeah. Tell Bill I said hello.
All right.
Well, I took down a few people in his area.
I was writing notes. What's his last name? Bill what?
Choky. I believe that's how you say it.
O-K-C-K.
I'm not great at spelling.
Okay.
But I'm also hiring my deputies that are going to be special. I want them to be with military background that believes in our Constitution, and you can call them any word in the book. And they're going to be able to deputize. They're not going to get mad. They're not going to get all butt hurt because they're going to understand. We have the right to call them anything we want. They don't have the right to put their hands on us. But we have the right by our First Amendment to say whatever we want to say, as long as we're not threatening them, as long as we're not hollering fire inside of a closed building.
Right.
You know?
Hey, Jeff, you going to be able to deputize John?
What's that?
You going to be able to deputize John?
I'll be able to deputize anybody. I'm going to pick out a couple doctors and deputize them. I'm going to pick out a couple attorneys, get them deputized. That way, if CPS says that, you know, this kid is in some kind of medical emergency need, whatever, I will have doctors that's not owned by CPS, not owned by me. I'm going to tell everybody, you don't owe 1 bit of allegiance to me. The only allegiance you own is to our Constitution and to these families and these children. That's the only thing that you are responsible to. If I do something wrong, you come and arrest me. If I'm out there speeding, you give me a speeding ticket. I am no special. I'm no different than anybody else out here. And that's the way I'm gonna run this county. Nobody gets any special.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, when you run a political campaign, and you know what I'm talking about, you've got to have the majority of the people in, you have to have the majority of people in the county to vote for you in order for you to win. What is going to make the people vote for you based on what you're saying? And not that I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm like, there are some people that out there that I'm going to say believe in CPS, believe in the government, believe in, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying anything bad against you. I'm just saying that is there anything else besides CPS that you're running on as far as to cover all the bases for the people in the county?
To clean the corruption, starting in the courthouse.
Now there you go.
Through the prosecution.
Right. Now
because
that right there, you hit the nail on the head, because now you're going to adhere to every single person in that county.
And I'm telling everybody what I'm doing. The first thing I'm doing is I'm going to invite the feds to go through every piece of paper in that courthouse and in the county jail.
Oh, wow. That'd be awesome.
That would be great.
So you asked me about how can I get the federal government to give grants. I think that right there would do it. But I'm not going to let none of my officers have a federal badge, and I'm not giving no federal people one of my badges.
Right.
I don't believe in that. You want to be a federal agent, you do that.
Right.
But you're not going to have a federal agent badge and come over here and get a deputy badge to fuck with people in my county. It ain't happening.
Yeah, but if a person is federal, they supersede county anyway.
No.
Yes, they do, Herbert, because federal is federal. Federal is the highest law government. But go ahead.
That's what I just said.
If a federal agent comes into Cass County and harasses Cass County people, me as the elected county sheriff, I can tell them to get the hell out, or I will have you arrested. I have your vehicle impounded, and I have the power to do so. I also will have the power to tell a judge, this is not constitutional, and I will not go take these people's children, and I will not allow nobody else to go take it. Yeah, unless there's absolutely something wrong.
Yeah. If they're harassing for no reason, I get that. But they supersede city and state. Federal supersedes.
Yeah, they do. But when
but they got to have a case that allows it.
That's correct, Melissa. They have to have a case that supersedes city and state. And then, Mr. Sheriff, you can't tell them. Yeah.
But see, Herbert, he's inviting them in to check out corruption. So it's almost like he's going to put an ace in the federal government in his back pocket, so to speak.
Who's the
because
he?
Jeff.
Me.
If Jeff calls the feds in and says, I want you to do a thorough investigation of the sheriff's department and the jail, okay, or the courthouse, whatever it may be,
And CPS.
then
That's
the
right.
feds can say, okay, maybe this guy is who we need in that county to make sure we're not going to have any kind of corruption, period, in government, no matter what happens. Who he's going to have problems with more so than anybody is the governor, the attorney general, and people like that of the state. He's going to have more problems that way than he's going to have with the feds, whether they come into the county or not, because yes, federal can supersede, and yes, they can come in and override the sheriff. I agree with you. I have no problem agreeing with that whatsoever. However, they can, if the sheriff is playing ball, so to speak, with the feds based on a constitution, and they're doing stuff by the Constitution, there should be no matter going down that path. Period.
There should be no dilemma. No.
That's
situation.
right. There should be. It should be like an even road.
That'd be
Now,
an
how
even
many
road.
times, Herbert, in Long Island did you see that happen, where the feds and the sheriff's department or the police department in that area didn't want them to be in that area or come together as one? Very rare.
They were coming. If it was a major case, you got the
Right.
you got the local police department, you got the county sheriff,
Come on.
and in addition to that, you got the feds, and they work in conjunction with each other.
Okay, I have a question for you, Herbert. Now, who do you call when CPS and law enforcement have broken the law? Who do you call? The FBI? Or because the Attorney General represents the state, that's a conflict of interest to contact them and file a complaint. Who do you call? OJ? I'm saying CPS, when DHS CPS worker, or whatever they call in their state or county,
They broke the law.
enforcement breaks the law.
Yeah.
Who do you call to report that to?
Okay. Let me give it to you straight. You got CPS. We talked about this over a month ago on the show here, where a CPS officer signed their name where the judge was supposed to sign. Melissa, help me with this. The CPS personnel signed their name where the judge was supposed to sign their name to go into the house to take a charge. Now, the police officer doesn't know that somebody else other than the judge signed their name. So they were taking that child illegally. Am I right, Melissa? Wasn't a case like that?
Yeah, that was that video we watched, the one that was from Texas, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Okay.
heard about Texas.
So in a case like that, I would think you're going to take that directly to the judge because he didn't sign that paper. It was
That's fraud on the court,
But
right?
the problem is, like she said, who would you call? Well, I have called the FBI. I have called the Michigan Attorney General. And they all have told me, we don't put people like them in jail. We put people like you in jail.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying, in the case I just gave you, the judge is going to say, I never signed that, and go after that CPS personnel that signed it fraudulently. That person is going to be charged with a fraudulent signature of the judge.
Okay, that one might, kind of work that way. But for the common way that they do their dirt, they're always doing fraud.
Yep, they always do it.
So when you go and call the police and try to make a report, the only thing they tell you is you're just mad because they took your kid. You're just mad because you don't like that judge, what the judge did.
Right.
They will not take a report. They will not investigate.
Right.
Whatsoever. The FBI will hang the hell up on you.
Yeah.
They will The one up here in St. Joe, Michigan, has told me 50 different times, I've done told you I ain't doing nothing. Well, he's going to have a problem when I'm sheriff.
That's the issue. They in cahoots with each other.
Now, see, I
they're
filed
all
a report.
making money.
I filed a report with the FBI, and they filed a complaint with the Attorney General, who turned it over to the Judicial Board. And I actually have a FBI complaint against the judge, and the FBI found facts to follow through with it. And in Michigan, on my case involving Monroe County, I filed kidnapping with the state trooper's office right in Taylor, Michigan, and they was going to proceed with charges against the Monroe County CPS worker because they literally stole my kid in a different county with an officer at gunpoint with no court orders. So I went to the state police office and I demanded to file charges, and the state police office actually found out who stole my son and gave me the information and still made the report with the intent to prosecute.
So what you're saying and what you're proving is every state is different. Every state acts differently, in conjunction with what they do.
It just depends on if you get an officer who gives a shit. Okay, when I went into the state trooper's office, I got a woman in her mid-50s who has children, who had a daughter that fought CPS, who had a true, heartfelt understanding of how upset I was. Down here, I got a little prick-ass FBI agent that he's all about making a name for himself, and when he heard all the bullshit that the judge was putting out, I mean, I got things to where I could literally prove conspiracy between my judge, the worker, and the GAL. And I'm actually, we're filing a federal suit next week under a 42 USC 1983 and a 42 USC 1985. Because we're going after them for their conspiring together to steal the children.
Well, I can prove.
We are not filing against the judge because judicial immunity is almost impossible to get around. What we're doing is we're naming him as a co-conspirator, but he is not the person we're suing. Reason being, he will not be represented by an attorney, but he will be called to testify. And when we prove conspiracy against the department and the GAL, then that whole report will be good enough that we get to disrobe the judge and hopefully take his bar license.
Wow. All right, guys. We could keep going and going and going and going in here, but we are way over our time. Melissa, you ended with the last word. Do you want to finish it up? Do you want to go with your last words for tonight?
Well, I think that, as advocates, as people fighting for law enforcement, as everything of all of the above, familiarize yourself with the people in your area who give a shit and who don't. And stand behind those who give a shit, because we can only win if we fight together.
I want to.
Hold on. Last thoughts, guys. We all get our turn. Go ahead, Tiffany. Go ahead. Your last thoughts. This is it for you.
I want to get Herbert number and Jeff number, contact information. So that's what I'm asking for.
My number is.
Lisa posted her number in the chat.
My phone number is 269 357 6565.
6565. Okay, and you, Herbert?
Yeah, I'm posting it right now.
What's your phone number?
Right now for you.
Okay, thank you.
Herbert,
you used to see my number.
There we go.
Okay, I got it. It's right here, Herbert.
Herbert, you got your last thoughts for tonight?
Yeah, I thought this was a very good show. I think we covered a lot of grounds. I'm hoping that we could all get
Herbert,
together again. I
I'm
hope
gonna
that we
be
can
in
all.
touch with you, Herbert, about how close are you to Hastings?
Hey, no, I'm in Arizona.
No, I
He's
know
on my
you
place
are,
in New
Jeff.
York.
Jeff, how close are you to Hastings?
I'm a long ways from, well, not really too long of a way. I know where Hastings, I've been there, but I'm over by Indiana, basically, southwest
Okay,
corner of
so you're
Michigan.
not that far, but anyway, there is a
Hold on,
meeting.
whoa, guys, we're finishing up. Last thoughts here. Last thoughts. Herbert, last thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna reserve my last thoughts to let those two finish what they're saying.
All right. Jeff, your last thoughts?
My last thoughts is I got mad because Facebook would strip me of my First Amendment rights. So I figured out if I made a group thing, it's called We the People in Cass County. It's time to stand up for our rights.
Oh, yeah, I think I still have that up here, too.
How do you spell Cass County? C-A-S-T?
CASS.
C-A-S-S.
We the people
of Cass County.
It's right up on the board right
Cass
here.
County.
It's time. Yeah, it's right there on the board. I can see it.
It's time to stand up for our rights.
All right.
Yep. And that's a group in Facebook.
Okay.
And you'll see, you will see my flyer. If you can like take a snapshot and send it to everybody you know and tell them to send it to everybody they know. It's down to crunch time now.
Yeah, August 6th, right? We got a special election coming up that day, right?
August the 6th is the primaries.
Okay, almost 6. And what county are you in?
Cass County.
How far is that away from Flint, Genesee County? How far are you away?
Oh God, I'm not sure.
I'm in Michigan. I'll try to look it up. But okay, I'm gonna try to go on the Facebook page and subscribe.
Flint's over by Detroit, right?
Yeah, Detroit is 45 minutes away.
Detroit is like
Say your last
3.5 hours for me.
Right. Yeah. 3.5 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
All right, John, you got any last thoughts you want to get out?
I want to hook you up with a few other people, Jeff. I like what I heard. I actually want to get involved with you. So there's another sheriff and another county and there's a bunch of people in that county that are acting the same way you are. And the sheriff is actually coming around to their term. Only they're carrying it a little bit further than CPS. They're carrying it to the driver's license and everything else. Okay. But anyway, yeah. I will be in touch. I will be in touch. Yep.
All right. And Tiffany,
I screenshot your phone number.
I'm going to give you one more shot, Tiffany. You got any more last thoughts?
Yeah, I was just trying to say that, like I said before, united we stand, divided we fall. We need to all come together. I'm a part of different organizations, different groups. We all need to stand together to be on one accord to fight this beast and to be productive and to effectively permit change to come. Because there's so many groups out there, so many people doing this and that, but we need to all come together to be on one accord. It's power in unity, and there's power in numbers. And so, Jeff, thank you for everybody that's on the call. Thank you for putting me on the call, brother. I appreciate you. I want to make sure I connect with you, and got me. If you need my help, I'm here for everybody. This was a great meeting.
Well, Tiffany, give me a holler.
For presenting this tonight, and it was well worth the time. Believe me. We need more like this, actually.
Now,
Will you guys be
if
back,
you can
will
take
you guys
this,
be back on next Tuesday? Will they be back on next Tuesday, Darren?
Yeah, they can be if they want. We can have them back next Tuesday. If they're not busy, we'll see what we got going on. But yeah, we can tentatively write it in.
Okay,
You want to continue this for next Tuesday?
Yeah, why not?
Let's continue the
Hey,
conversation.
Darren,
Yes, ma'am.
you know what would make a neat show? Get
What's
Tiffany on with Cheryl.
Yeah, that would be good.
Who is
You,
Cheryl? Come on now.
Cheryl runs
Let
a
me know,
large
yeah.
organization, National Action Network. She's out of
Okay.
Nashville, and she is all about families' rights, people's rights. She made such a wave in Nashville that they got all the kids back for the one family.
All
Who
right.
is
That's
this?
my-
They
my-
literally showed up at a court with like 15 people.
That's what we got to do. We got to do power.
Who is
We do
this,
co-watching and stuff like that. We need to support each other.
National Action Network, John.
Check on each other.
Right.
'Cause another tactic that they do, the CPS, and they harass you, and they
Yep.
and they do that, and then when you're a part of the system, you become a target for the system. They keep on
I
trying to
even
do this and do this type of stuff to you. So that's just wrong. But they're gonna pay for it. They're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. All
the
right, guys.
caseworker, she said in court on the record that she stalks me. She comes by all the
Yeah,
time and takes pictures of my house to see
Yeah.
what vehicles are in my driveway.
They're jackasses.
Yeah,
All right,
they-
guys. We're going to
Okay.
wrap this up, guys. Thank you guys very much for coming on tonight. We appreciate
Got
you
you
guys. We'll be
guys.
back next Tuesday
I'll
with
see
this.
everybody next Tuesday. Come on back on next Tuesday.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you, Robert. Take care, everybody. Be blessed.
All right, y'all have a good night now.
All right, you too. Whew, Lord almighty, that was hard to get a hold of everybody there for the last thoughts. But there you see it, guys. There's people out there that are fighting for our freedoms. There's a lot of people out here, so use these resources. If CPS is coming knocking at your doors, you can go to abolishcps.com. You can get these people's phone numbers. I'll put them up tonight so that you guys can have access to these numbers, and all of this stuff is good people out there fighting for our rights. You're not alone. So get out of your crux and your darknesses, get yourself together, get your apparel from my store, put your fighting boots on, because there's people ready to battle for you. I'm the CPS Punisher, and I'm out of here. Support the stream right there. That's right there. Help going. All right. Good night, everybody. Oh, I killed it early. Son of a biscuit. Sorry about that. I'm here right one. See y'all tomorrow night.